All right, so this is the Stagea. Obviously it's come a long way since the last video. We didn't get to do as much filming as we wanted to do. We did want to film more of the process of putting it together, but unfortunately this car was put together from the 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. 3 weeks straight basically. So we got this thing finished up quick, and we did a few things to it that I want to talk about here. Obviously in the engine bay, everything we already mentioned in the previous video has been done. I did run a new radiator. We did not use a used one, we didn't have one. So that was unfortunately something we had to buy new. I did get some powder coating and Cerakoting done from our friends at Black Box. They did a really good job for us. They did the valve covers in a matte yellow for me. I got a used set of fans from a friend. I have a R33 GTR intercooler on here with some custom mounts, custom intercooler piping. Our HKS low mount manifold is installed and fits in the car really well. We had to do a bit of a creative intake here because the engine mount was in the way. So it kind of comes right up off the turbo, welded to it, and then we have a coupler for the filter. We did run this thing on E85. We did make about 602 horsepower, and I think it was about 450 foot-pounds of torque. A couple other details in this car here. We did end up running a remote mount sensor manifold. That way we can easily access all the sensors if we do have any issues with those. I have a manifold, oil, fuel, and coolant pressure. All four of those sensors are wired directly to the ECU, and then they get output onto my BTI gauge as well as the ECU. So I can see everything that the ECU sees, which is awesome. I also have a set of Audi A4 coil packs. I ran those because they're really cheap. They're the same as the R8 ones, they're just a little bit lower, and they're black, not bright red. I didn't like the bright red. I'm running an RB25 5-speed transmission and a Nismo two-way differential with a 4.6 gear ratio. For the wheel setup, we did get a set of brand new Enkei Kojins. They did not come in white, they only come in black now, unfortunately, so I had a friend of mine, Jordan, paint these for me. He did a really good job. They're just going to be drift wheels, so I don't want to spend too much money powder coating them. I did do a set of R32 GTR front brakes. I got those from a friend of mine as well. He upgraded his brakes in his GTR, and we just painted them yellow. We have a set of new DBA rotors and endless pads in this thing, so we have good brakes. Inside the car, I just wanted a cheap and easy solution to have a racing seat, so I wasn't sliding around inside the car. I just went with the Energy Prisma Ultra, just in gray. It's comfortable. I like it, fits me, fits Johanna. We're both gonna be able to drive the car. Inside the car, this car was actually a RB25 auto navigation car. So this had a full screen in the middle here. One thing, if you are familiar with Stageas, is the navigation and the standard climate control are not interchangeable usually. So I went ahead and rewired the navigation for the Series 2 style or the non-navigation style so that I have climate control. I don't have any of the Navi setups. I didn't want the big screen in the middle, and then I also wired in the triple gauge spot. The gauges do work. The only thing that doesn't work is obviously the all-wheel drive torque meter. So that one's not included. Some other fun features about the car that people might care about. It does have the xenon headlights. It does have keyless entry, so it's kind of bougie for a drift car. It does have folding mirrors. So one fun thing we'd know, if you've dealt with Stagea at all and you've done a manual swap on these things, it is a bit of a pain to get the e-brake to work. Find a center console if you can even find one for a decent price. So what I did in this car is I put an R34 GTT manual center console, shift trim, e-brake, and cables. That way that it's very, very similar to the generation that came in. You can see it's not quite exactly the same, but it's better than having nothing. I didn't want to do the automatic center console modification, so I went ahead and I did this instead. The e-brake sits at a bit of a slight angle because it is the R34 e-brake with the R34 bracket, but it does work the same. I kind of like the position that it's in. We're eventually going to do a hydro on this, so we'll figure out what we're going to do there. For the manual swap of this car, a couple of details. We did use the OEM Stagea clutch master. I have the RB25 clutch slave. I did use an R33 clutch pedal, and I modified it to fit in the car. I did swap out the auto cluster for a manual cluster because I didn't like the look of the Prindle on the screen or on the cluster itself. So that was a little bit of an upgrade for myself. We do have a lot of these cars that we parted out, so that was a simple detail for me. So the inside of the car is very tidy in my opinion. There's a couple things I still like to clean up, but it does look very close to OEM, plus a little bit of detail inside. Another thing we did that was pretty cheap, again, we were trying to keep the budget on this thing really, really low, kind of realistic, cost effective, so the average person's not like, oh, you spent 100 grand on the car. We did not, so what I did here with the ABS delete is I just teed in the front lines. I removed the rear line that came across and ran a a shorter steel OEM line just straight down to the rear brakes. So that was simple, easy, and cheap. The drive shaft in this car is just R33 GTST. This tranny mount that's in this car is also just from the automatic transmission that was in this car. So that does match up, which is kind of cool. So along with, obviously we talked about how much power this thing made. It is running on E85 pump fuel. We do have one pump in this city here, so we're able to run it. 1000cc injectors. We upped the base fuel pressure so we could actually reach that 600 horsepower mark. We did completely max the injectors out, so we did dial it back a little bit. So it's sitting about 550. Fuel system in this thing is pretty basic. We just have a Walbro 450. We do have ethanol safe submersible fuel line inside of there for the feed and return. And then we're just running ethanol safe rubber fuel line from the tank to the OEM line, and then from the OEM line again to the fuel rail. So that keeps it very safe. Hopefully we have no issues with that. We're doing a little bit of a trial with the rubber line. I haven't used it before, but it's supposed to be rated for E85, so we're going to report back on that. So I've been daily driving it. I got about 1,600 kilometers in this thing now. We did 3 oil changes so far. Basically have broken it in very, very hard. We've been doing some serious driving with it on the street. It's been comfortable. We had it out a couple of times when we had it out one time when we first put it together. We did do couple of sessions or a couple of laps with it, but I did bend a tie rod immediately, and it was kind of a bit of a rush. Got the end of the day, and we didn't end up taking it out again after that. But tomorrow we're going to be going out, and we're going to get the car out at RMDC again, and we're going to see what I can learn. I am an amateur driver, so we're going to figure that out. Joe is also going to get in the car, and she's going to see what she can do with it. She's never slid a car at all, so that'll be fun to watch and see her learn and progress as well. We'll see what it's like learning and getting to know the chassis a little bit more, but street driving it, getting familiar with it has been good. So it's been a pretty cool experience building something that was supposed to be crushed and getting it to go back on the track. So now we're going to get this thing loaded up, and we'll carry on the rest of this video when we get to the track. All right, so we're out here at RMDC now. We took the car out a couple times already just to get a feel for things. We hit a tire and flicked up the front end already, so good start. I don't know if we have any camera footage of that from cell phones. We didn't start filming yet. And then one more run after that, the power steering rack started leaking. So it's leaking into the rack boot. So I'm topping it up and draining the fluid out of the boot, but we're almost at ATF, so we're gonna get a couple of runs here on camera and kind of see the progress. Johannes had the car out already too, so it's been going good with a little bit of bad, but overall pretty good. well, we finished up our weekend at RMDC. We did a little bit of damage to it. Obviously, we hit the tire. We talked about that already. We blew both seals in the rack, left and right side. I'm pretty sure that's because of the tie rod spacers. Putting the rack moving into an area where it has not ever been run for the 20 years age that it is. And then I destroyed a couple of bearings in the transmission, which I'm pretty sure the transmission I put in there was hurt. I've since bought a new one, replaced it, and we have also replaced the rack with another one. I got rebuild kits coming for the rack, and I'm going to pull the transmission apart and possibly replace the bearings. We're going to see what's wrong with it first. I haven't diagnosed it exactly, just replaced it. We might do a video on the transmission itself because there's not a lot of content out on those, so we're going to go over that. And then potentially about the rack, a couple of the parts were discontinued, so we're not really sure if it's going to be 100% fixable. But we're going to cross that bridge when we get there. But hopefully you enjoyed the content on the Stagea. We're going to get more driving footage out, as you can see in the video. Kind of still an amateur, so we're not really there yet. As for the driving side of things, a lot to get used to. The car itself has a slight bit of lag, a lot of clutch kicking, a lot of clutch dumps trying to get it going. I'm probably going to figure that out as I drive it more and more, try to figure out where the power band is and hopefully reduce that a little bit. It was a little bit hard on the drive line. I'm sure that contributed to our transmission failure, but we'll see what happened. I'll try a couple of things. We're going to get Johanna in the car more too as well and see if she can figure it out. She had a couple of good donuts. For having never done that before, I'm super proud of her. All right, so the end of September, we're going to get out. We're going to go to Stagea. It's in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. It's going to be a bit more of a track feel. I've only ever really driven on the skid pad, so that'll be a bit of a different experience for me. Hopefully get some good seat time there, really learn how to drive the car in an area where you physically cannot mess up and just spin out into a giant pad. And then we're going to also be out there with Jordan, Rob, a couple of other guys. We're going to be doing hopefully some driving together. We'll see how my skills progress. Hopefully we'll see you out there. From now on, we're going to be doing a bit of a Q&A. At the beginning of each video, we'll answer any questions you guys might have about us, the shop, any of the cars we're doing. If you have any questions regarding what we've already done, I've been trying to stay active in the comments, answering a lot of your guys' questions, which is good. I love the feedback. I love to hear what people think. It's good. Obviously, we're always growing, so anything we do in the videos, there's always more to learn and more to add to it. There's never truly 100% perfect answer for anything. So there's always better and better ways to do things, and that's how, you know, we grow as people. We learn more things, we change and adapt, and we do better and better work over time. But we're going to start answering questions you guys might have, so just drop a question in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer it in the next video.